Hello, namaste, and welcome to Agile Exploration Hub. I am your host Nagesh Deshpande. We are bringing another episode of Talks with Deshpande ji, and we have a speaker Meghna today. Meghna and me going to discuss today Agile for remote teams, challenges and solutions. So this will be our topic. Welcome, Meghna.
Thanks a lot.
So we are using technology here. We are working remotely, or we are communicating with each other remotely, and tools like Zoom is best example. How can you connect with someone remotely and discuss, talk, share ideas and all that? But when you're working remotely, there's a challenge hidden inside it. Those challenges, and as well as how can we improve on those such working way, we are going to discuss today. So let's have uh, this discussion today. So Meghna, how are you?
Sure, I'm good.
So weekend. So thanks for giving your valuable time on the weekends. So without doing a further ado, I'll directly jump onto the topic. So see, as a agilist, I strongly believe in face-to-face communication. Even Agile says that face-to-face communication, or having face-to-face or straight communication. Hmm. So I'm even reading more and more books on communications, how to improve communication. But now, when we are working remotely, or again distributed teams, not just remotely but distributed team, what are the communication challenges that we might face and how to tackle them?
Very good question. And it's an interesting topic. Though we read a lot, we experience a lot about co-located teams. I think only because teams are remote, we don't need to part with any of the advantages of communication. So while at the face value, it might seem challenging, but my recommendation would be to just communicate, communicate, and communicate. Open up multiple communication channels. There is nothing like excessive communication, or even if there is, it's always better than not having communication.
Right.
And there should be a blend of both formal and informal mechanisms. By formal, I mean town halls to team meetings and everything in between, and different ceremonies for that matter, agile events as well. So all inclusive, those would be at a defined frequency and have a defined set of participants. But apart from that, what's equally important in my recommendation is to ensure that there are also informal mechanisms to communicate.
Agree.
So there could be Slack, there could be Teams, and a host of other things, um, which can be opened up inside an organization basis all kind of requirements that an organization might have. I'm sure there will be something which is allowed and available. So open up all of that for your teams to be able to talk to each other and to leadership across the length and breadth. So it's important to keep that same tempo alive as if you were in a physical office. And above all, it's important to make things transparent. So um, apart from having face-to-face or video communication or meetings, connects, and the likes, it's also important to have information access via other means like SharePoints and dashboards and things like that. Because when we are talking about remote teams specifically, there might be a situation when not everyone is having their core working hours at the same time. So we'll
Right.
get to that subsequently for a conversation about time zones. However, at the moment, what's important is to maintain the communication, keep it alive. In case of live events, it's also important to give people lightweight mechanisms to communicate during the session, like Q&As or responses and emojis. Those would be really nice to get people into the communication, involved in the communication as well. And if with all these efforts, sometimes there are situations when people cannot join at that time live, So let's try and record things that can be recorded. And this will always be helping people to watch it later. So
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think it's important to understand that we need to communicate and maybe communicate more since we are remote and through different avenues.
Different avenues. Absolutely. So I like your point about emojis and GIFs. So even we had we used to have a retrospective with memes.
Hmm.
So the person will share one question, and then each individual have to share a meme, or vice versa. We'll share a meme, and then what is the instant reaction or about, or
Uh-huh.
which situation in the last sprint or last PI you can relate with this meme. So something like that, we also introduced that. So these are some of the way. One more platform that if people are not comfortable with their privacy, then
Mhm.
we can skip that, but WhatsApp, you know and we in one of my team, we had this rule, on WhatsApp there will be no formal communication,
Yeah.
no official communication.
Official, no
Nothing,
confidential.
nothing official communication, only to communicate and build the connection with your team member,
Mhm.
to say hello, to communicate over the weekends.
Right.
If they are comfortable sharing their personal details, like I went to this place for a dinner, or I went for hiking on a weekend. Such
Mhm.
communications with photos, if you share in the weekends or on the WhatsApp, it's instant first of all, and it build some sort of bonding between team members.
Mhm.
So that, in my experience, it's important. If your team is comfortable, create one WhatsApp group, share your data. But
Right.
again, the rules should be there. If you don't do it, then as you said, the more communication channel, the more information, and it may lead to some sort of uncomfort, I will say, because I'm getting similar message on Slack, I'm getting similar message on WhatsApp.
Mhm.
So some people may not appreciate it. Some people
Right.
will say, yeah, this is too much communication. But
Mhm.
great points. And yes, these are the common things, challenges, and some of the things that we can tackle. Moving ahead, so I think collaboration is very, very important, right? So we already, um, Agile already says that collaboration is over, So now, if we are saying we are remote teams, so distributed, remote, even co-located, but remote.
Remote.
Well, yeah. In that terms, how can we improve this collaboration?
Mhm. That's an interesting point, actually, because a lot of success of all these ways of working would actually be based on collaboration. And what's important and what fuels collaboration, in my honest opinion, is the ability to build rapport amongst the team members, or even with leadership and the likes. Of course, it will be of a different nature, but
Hmm.
the bottom line is there needs to be a good rapport. And usually, if people have never ever met each other, or there doesn't seem to be an opportunity for everyone to meet everyone in the near future, I think at least informal avenues should be built where people can get to know each other.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of recommendations. Different frameworks also talk about icebreakers. They talk about building personal maps and what have you. So I think some way wherein people can connect before they start, preferably before they start working together, or even if they have been working together for a long time, connecting beyond work. It could be celebrations, it could be virtual happy hours, or anything. I'm sure with a good amount of creativity, we'll find something. But there has to be such a mechanism where people can get more comfortable, and once they get more comfortable, they can actually have conversations on tough topics. They can work towards tougher things if they have that comfort feeling. So very important to ensure that team members have at least a basic level of rapport with each other, where they can work through together as a team. And of course, not everything can be through emails, so we need to be
Right.
creative again. I have seen organizations open up different kinds of channels on Teams or Slack or other mechanism where it's very dedicated to a particular topic, and then there are channels related to fitness and gardening and everything in between. So people based on their interest levels can actually be part of this. And of course, there are, if this is hosted on the Office network, there are definitely channels for everything related to the official stuff as well. So that's always something we should encourage. And um there has to be a regularity to this. So
Right.
the office hours, the celebrations need not be completely off track. We could look at building a cadence to these as well. Maybe once every month or on important events, happenings in the organization, or some of the national festivals and things like that. So the list can go on. However,
Right.
it's important to identify those at certain point in time and then engage and invite people, because this way they will build a good rapport with each other. And last but not the least, I think informal as well as informal connects, it's important to ensure that people participate.
Right.
More often than not, we create our celebration or events around things where only people who are at a venue can actually join. Think about your entire team. How is it spread? Where do you actually bring the people who are remote into the celebration as well? And this could also go for the official connects.
Right.
So it's important to do whiteboarding, screen sharing, use all kind of collaborative tools as well as ALM tools. So right from Miro whiteboard or Lucid for collaboration, real-time collaborations is extremely important. And then of course, use your ALMs to advantage, I would say. Make the most of that so that we don't have every information or everything residing in an email,
Huh. Right.
because that's the hardest to find. And that really brings down
Mm.
the collaboration levels, although it's very, very tempting to open up an email editor and start typing. Maybe not everything should be
Mm.
going through emails. So I think the more people come together, especially building rapport, I think that is what will fuel collaboration.
Yeah. I'll uh, great, great insights, great information that I'll bring two, three things that came up in my mind. So you
Mhm.
brought one topic of tough topic or tough things in the communication.
Mhm.
So even we are talking about remote, when we are talking about you know very architecture thing, or maybe very uh, important code and all, or very major requirement and all that. So yes, if team is really remote and it's very difficult for them to meet in person and work, you know have it engaging session. Otherwise, if it is possible, I'll request your team to bring them maybe for one day, invest in that travel, bringing them together, because those technical or those functional, high level functional, or very important functional things can be discussed face to face much better. In my
Mhm.
experience, I worked in a setup in COVID where we were all remote, and uh, when we start going to office, immediately things getting more clear.
Mhm.
So yes, definitely, but face to face conversation definitely adding more value, but try to invest in that. Another thing that you brought about bringing together and making engaging them, having should be value add, those sessions should be value add. So something which is I observe in the meetings are people are wallflower. What do you mean? Do you know what is a wallflower?
Mhm.
So wallflower is a person in the meeting room uh, who has no interest in that meeting. Whatever happening in that, he doesn't take any interest.
Physically
So
present, but
yeah,
mentally absent. Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
So there is a movie called The Perks Being of a Wallflower.
Mhm.
So it's a good movie, one of my favorite. So you should watch it. So
Uh-huh.
I always give this reference point in my meetings. So whenever I start meetings, I set a rule. There should, I don't want any wallflowers in the meeting room.
Mhm.
So let's keep engaging. Ask question, leading question, something of the person's area of work, area of interest. So
Mhm.
let's say if only technical architect is talking, and maybe a junior developer or developer who have no idea what he's talking. So something I'll request technical person, ask very easy basic question to engage that person. It may not look good to you. You may not like it, but it is important to bring that collaboration into the team. So even on the Zoom, when we are
Mhm.
discussing, I request such people to ask basic, easy questions to the team to involve them, to
Mhm.
feel that yes, you are valued. You are in this meeting for a reason, not just oh no, you are not on a listening mode. So
Right.
that's how few techniques that I adopt on remote teams. Uh,
Mhm.
so good. Let's move on to the next topic. You know, we already discussed how team member can feel engaged and connected. We already discussed. So let's move on to the very important topic. You already started talking about it, time zones. We all different time zones. So throughout my career, I worked with US time zone with the daylight saving, without daylight saving, Eastern time zone, Western time zone, UK, South Africa, Australia.
Right.
How to handle this challenge?
Now, first and foremost thing is to acknowledge it. Okay, so whatsoever um, you do, time zones are going to exist. We all will have people to interact with, team members, stakeholders at multiple shores. Okay, so that is going to exist. So when it's going to exist, let's best use it to our advantage instead of trying to complain about it. Now, how could you possibly do that? So that's exactly what we will talk about right now. And if this is done with a good amount of success, then you have really a team presence, assuming that you have the possibility of different time zones really distributed apart. You could actually have your team presence and working 24/5. So that's really interesting. And if you think from that perspective, it's always a good way to handle it. Okay. So, one thing that's important is when teams are getting into the group and they're starting to work with each other, there might be people who have come with a lot of industry experience. However, one thing to understand is when there are differences in time zones, it is going to take the team a little bit more time to go through all the team formation stages, be it, forming, storming, norming, performing.
Yeah.
It's going to take a little bit more time. So let's all have that patience. Let's give teams that time to come together, even virtually, but come together, set up some working agreements and the likes, and then get comfortable working with each other. So this is going to take a little longer as compared to having everyone in a single location where you can meet each other every day and so on. So let's acknowledge that and plan according to it. And then above and beyond, what's important is there have to be a core working a set of core working hours where as many locations as possible that are required, when they are available. So the working day should be designed accordingly, that
Mm.
we have good respect for each other's work-life balance. Or if someone has, some a set of team members have personal commitments or something like that, or there are any other things that require us to work in a certain manner. But above and beyond all this, I'm sure we will be able to have a set of core working hours. If not all 5 days, at least 2 to 3 days, 4 days in a week, we could have some time when not essentially people meet, but
Right.
this is the
Mm.
time most of them are expected to be available just in case. And this is going to help with a lot of ceremonies and the likes, with agile events and team events and everything else. So we could make a interesting cadence around it. And then above and beyond this core working hours, it's important to provide mechanisms for communication round the clock without the expectation that you will receive an immediate response. Okay, so if you're out of your core working hours, then the expectation is not of a immediate response. However, if I land up on something and before I log off for the day, if I want to post it to somebody, my avenues should be multiple basis what it is. If it's a discussion topic, I want to invite opinions from n number of people, then I should have a mechanism for doing that. And that's how you could actually make use of the time. So you post something during your core working hours, and before you leave for the day, the people at the other location pick up. Same thing can be done actually for critical topics. A lot of us
Right.
work production issues and the likes. So if we have, or even development, when we're stuck with something, if we have people on other shores whom we think can help us, there's nothing like it. The uh, discipline that we need to bring into the team is that before we log off again, we try to send something around it, screenshots, be more and more visual.
Visual, yeah.
When you're not around, things should speak for you. So try and have videos or screenshots, or you get tons of tools these days where you can build this very easily. And if not anything, just record what you're doing using Zoom or something else, and you get a very good, interesting video to share with folks. The other thing I recommend building, especially when people are working across time zones, is to have good amount of documentation. Need not be verbiage. By documentation, I don't essentially mean you write words and words of text, but again, it could be in the form of diagrams and screenshots and something visual also. That's good enough documentation.
Right.
But let's have something so that when we are asleep, people in other shores can look at it, and vice versa. So there's the need to build a documentation hub. Works really well. In case of meetings, very, very important, especially working across different time zones, is to set the meeting invite in advance. Especially if you're working across a time zone that could go into a 10 hours difference, 11, 12 hours difference, somewhere in between. Best to send your invites at least one working day prior,
Right.
so that people have opportunity to not only look at their calendars, and if they need to shuffle or prioritize something, they could do that. If they need to prepare something, they know that, okay, this is coming, and it's not so sudden that something came up on their calendar. So try to avoid situations, unless things are unavoidable, to be very, very impromptu with this. If it's in the single location, then it probably doesn't bring itself up as a problem. But if it's beyond time zones, it does. So preparation in meetings is definitely the key. The expected outcomes of the meetings and so on. So all this is also very, very important, so that when people are working through in their regular daytime, they can actually prepare this, and you make the most of your core working hours as well. So I think those are some of the things where you use time zones really to your advantage instead of trying to complain. Nothing will actually get fixed if you treat it only as a challenge, but treat it as an opportunity more than a challenge, I would say.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. I'll bring two different experiences of
Sure.
mine. So the first experience about
Mhm.
we used to work with a team who were in USA.
Mhm.
And what normally, standard agreement, the sprint planning used to happen India time 10 p.m.
Mhm.
Okay. So at very start, even though we used to work, start early in India, and for only for planning, we used to go and attend those planning meetings. So initially, we didn't raise or didn't say much about it, being being we needed more data. Uh, After 2 3 sprints, we share this information. It's 10 p.m. in India, and they were surprised that, oh my God, you working at 10 p.m. I'm all we are already in bed at 10. So
Mhm.
then it used to happen that they allowed us to skip it if we want. the sprint planning. But then they realized the problem,
Mhm.
yes, at some days or some planning meetings, these members from Indian team are required. However, the revolutionary or a different thing started, that after 6 sprint or 7 sprint, they ask us to host sprint planning from India, where they want to experience working at 10 p.m. the US time.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that team brought this idea to let's experience how Indians work. So every time all the Indian team members are working 10 p.m. Indian time.
Mm-hmm.
At least once we will work, where the daytime is in India,
Uh-huh.
and they enjoyed this experience. Even though it is sometimes they felt it. No, we are very tired and all that, but this is how it. What happened because of this? That suddenly transparency and openness become very big.
Mm-hmm.
Communication improved a lot. They are
Right.
willing to, the team members from USA are willing to share that, okay, what exactly your experience, we resonate, or we feel empathy or compassion about your experience.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one thing. Another thing that, and this is very logical or smart thing, this is nothing, no rocket science here. What used to happen, we used to work in one team, and the build used to happen around midday US time, so which is
Mm-hmm.
midnight India time. And if the build goes well, then during the day entire team used to work here in India. But if build fails, then
Mm-hmm.
we used to waste 24 hours, because only when the team members from USA are available in the office, the build used to get triggered and the fix used to go. So what we brought, one thing, that there will be two builds every day instead of one.
Mm-hmm.
One in India time, one in US time. If
Right.
India build fails, US people will fix it. If US build will fix, so in the morning, India team will fix it. And so 24 hours team is, like you
Have-
mentioned,
having-
24 hours
Mm.
team is working. Few members in India, they will continue their work. Their work will not, or working hours will not get wasted. Similarly, US. So these two experience I want to share with our viewers. So
Mm-hmm.
think about this in this direction, and you may see a different outcome of all these such small practices that we
Right.
have done in our experience. So
Then one more thing, as you mentioned this, that came to my mind is, if we can look at some kind of decentralizing decision making
right,
in a particular arena, with whatever is possible. Not every decision can be decentralized, but whatever can, let's say, so that we have the opportunity to let people proceed even if they are not able to reach certain person. We can definitely have all the ramp up, we can have all the guidelines how to and everything, we could ramp people up to make a decision. But maybe some decisions can be made that way also, because one other thing that people hate about time zone differences is basically the inability to have a quick turnaround of
a quick
decisions.
turnaround, yes. Great. Okay, so we did discuss about time zones, but there are another thing which is more than time zone,
Mhm.
which is culture.
Right.
How we are going to handle or manage cultural difference in a remote teams. So forget about beyond time zones, after time. Even
Mm.
in India, I'm sitting in Pune, few people are sitting in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, some remote part of you know India,
Right.
and they have a different culture,
Mhm.
different cultural meanings to something. You know, how are we going to handle this?
So again, it's important to drive home this point with your team, that there will be cultural differences.
Yeah.
Not everyone, not everything can be same, even in the professional side of things. Though we have a certain mechanism and certain guidelines when working in the professional side, However, above and beyond that, there will be things which are very, very specific to a particular culture. And others may find it quite surprising. Oh, wow, I didn't know this type of a thing. And so it's important to prep teams which are going to work together, let's say for the first time, or even if new people joining a team, or and so on. I remember in one of the organizations I worked in, we had a very specific training to appraise people of the cultural differences that exist, especially on, at least on the professional side of things. And it used to be starting with the tagline like "Fit for XYZ country," wherein you get to understand a few things about the professional mannerisms, mechanisms, and maybe sometimes, you know, people do travel to other geographies. So that's when it's also good to understand that there could be differences. And I would say use this also to your advantage. If it's going to help your project, then why not, at least on the professional side, start using it, even if that might not be something that you're well aware of. For example, I have worked with a few cultures where meetings really start precisely on time.
On time.
You know, people, if they are late by 4 seconds, probably they would apologize 4 times. And how I see something like this, well, it's good. You start at a precise time box, you finish on the time box as well. If you need more time, you replan some more time with the same set of folks, rather than extending and extending and extending. So this is a good thing.
Right, I agree.
You know, imbibe. So I would actually encourage people imbibing all of this instead of you know, being more and more impatient about it. It's a good thing. And also, if you cannot make it on time, then you inform in advance that I think I'm going to have probably, you know, an overlap. So indicate that, I would say. And let's be open about it without criticizing that this is how it is, and let's try and respect the professional boundaries also at the same time. So it's more important that we acknowledge cultural differences, we use it to advantage, and we respect things, most important, because culture is above and beyond all of us. So let's try and respect it. There must have been some reasons in past why things developed a certain way.
Right.
So out of that, whatsoever you can pick in the best interest of your professional endeavor, to go ahead and do that, I would say. So no harm picking some good manners along your professional journey, or your travels, or your business travels. No harm picking something good.
Right. Yeah. Some good habits will, help.
Always going to help. Yeah.
Or always
Especially
help.
the
And
punctuality thing that I
yeah.
mentioned. And when I started with, I was the scrum master of this team. So for me, that was the win-win, because you know, everything would start on the precise time. So we would be able to plan our day better,
Right.
because, you know, as a team, I was more than happy about this habit. And I said, yeah, this is something which works in the best interest of my project. So I'm going to be very, very happy about it.
Awesome. Yeah. See, so there's, as I said, there will be always a difference in the culture.
Yes, there will be.
So, pick up the good habits from different culture, use it into your personal, professional life, and be successful on that. So coming on to the last question, about tools and technologies that
Mhm.
we already discussed about Zoom, but what are some of the tools and technologies that we can use to facilitate these remote teams?
Right. So there can actually literally be an endless list, and something which personally I'm happy about. But where I would want us to start with when formulating such a set of examples is the infrastructure. So one is the infrastructure supported by your office, you know, if you're logging in through a VPN or something like that. And the other is your home setup. If you're pretty serious and your role is also requiring you to be or allowing you to be remote rather, then do invest in good infrastructure. as much as possible. Have your solid bandwidth, have a good provider, and make sure that you're able to match up to what the requirements are. Different organizations have different ways in which they handle their interactions. So those need to be working. That's absolutely must. So have a good infrastructure from the personal side, as well as ensure that there are, official matchups accordingly. And these should be sufficient enough. If you think they are not, then please bring up this with the relevant folks and get that sorted. So it all begins with a good infrastructure. And then the next, of course, which you briefly touched upon as well. So there is, Zoom and Teams and the likes, and we all know about them. So we're not
Right.
going to go into details of that. But try and get on video as much as possible is what would be my recommendation. Use whatever your organization allows or whatever you have access and comfort to, but make sure you use it. The other thing that's equally or probably more important is use of real-time collaboration tools. Now, whether it is the stand-up, whether it is retrospective, use a variety of tools. If you're looking at your backlog and the likes, make sure you have your Jira or Rally or version 1, what have you, in real time that's being used for all kind of conversational stuff, whether it is design discussions or retrospectives, having something handy and being used like Mural, Miro, Lucid Chart, and the likes. This is always good because behind collaboration, you want people to participate in all of this. That is the essence. And make sure you have that very, very intact, that is set up prior to the meeting or to the connects when you are founding new teams. Make sure you understand what's allowed in your organization
Right.
and set it up, have good access for everyone and the like. So make sure people are actually joining into this, and just them being remote should not be hampering their experience in any which ways. So whether it's user story mapping, retros, and sprint plannings and anything, there has to be a place where they can come and actually collaborate over things.
Well
And
said.
that too in real time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a must for the
Yeah.
success of the event or the ceremony that you're going in for. And of course, needless to say, Jira or Rally or version 1 or Azure, anything, make sure this is working well. People are set up with the right amount of access and everything. So this goes a long way in fostering collaboration. Apart from that, we briefly touched upon the possibility of building a documentation hub.
Documentation.
Now,
Yes.
wherever you're building this, again, make sure it's open to your team. The
Right.
team has access to it, whether it's your own dedicated SharePoint space, whether it's Confluence,
Confluence.
anything, make sure people have access to it, because that's very, very important, especially much more in case of remote teams, because you cannot now turn around and go to someone's desk and check for something. So you have to create that environment remotely. And so documentation hub is definitely important. And last but not the least, of course, a lot of us, when working remotely, work on software projects, pure software projects. So again, all of the things that are there, right from your code repository to the static code analyzers to their reports and everything, again, these need to be accessible. So basis what you're using, and basis what kind of reviews and static analyzers and other things that you have, make sure those are available and accessible as well. So it's really a very, very long list, but these are top 3 to 4, 5 areas that you need to look into when you're really setting up something remote.
Awesome. Too much, too much details, but I'll say is use these tools to your advantage.
Yes,
And make
absolutely.
sure how can I improve my efficiency using these tools, whichever way. So great discussion, Meghna. Thanks a lot once again for your time and
Sure.
all the insights. It's very very informative. So much to learn again, and our viewers will definitely get benefit. Again, to my viewers, details to connect with Meghna will be available in the description box. If you like the video, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, share it with your agile teams, and keep learning. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.